Hey, Jen.
Hey, Cynthia, how are you?
I love that we're all giggly all the time. It makes me happy.
Because we have so much fun talking about this stuff.
Yeah,
Marketing is our jam, especially search marketing, just as
yes.
a heads up.
Yes, I'm always like, will there ever be I mean, I'm sure there'll be some episodes where we don't have that giggliness, but I'm like, how do we manage it? Because I definitely wasn't like this before our call. Like, how did we get all?
Because at least for me, I love talking to you about marketing stuff and
Yes,
picking your brain and thinking through stuff, and to be able to get that on the podcast, it makes me a little giddy.
totally. I agree. Okay, we found why. Welcome to Marketing Duo Podcast, the podcast where marketing experts Cynthia of Digital Bloom IQ and Jen of Jen Vasquez Media come together to share their wealth of knowledge and insights on scaling your
Each
business.
episode, we are diving into the latest marketing strategies, mindset shifts, and growth tactics specifically designed for ambitious female founders who are tech savvy and eager to enhance their marketing game.
Whether you're looking to fine-tune your approach or discover innovative ways to accelerate your business, the Digital Marketing Duo provides actionable tips and inspiring conversations to help you reach your goals.
Tune in for a blend of practical advice and empowering discussions tailored to help you thrive in an ever-evolving digital landscape.
So today we wanted to talk a little bit about AI and SEO. It's been coming up a lot. Like I've basically gotten this question of, well, not really a question, but more of like a declaration of like, well, I don't really, why should I invest in SEO if AI is going to just do it all for me? Or, I've had people say, well, websites won't be needed, or there's all sorts of things, or like people won't search in Google. And I wanted to, you know, discuss this topic. I recently was in Jen's Summit and I did a talk on it there. And I'm also going to be doing a more training style talk in Jen's Facebook group, which, if you haven't joined, I highly, highly recommend you do. So, I don't know, Jen, before I dive into my spiel, if you want to like give your perspective and like if you've heard anybody also like give like shared like this kind of revelation of like, well, I don't really need to do this because AI is just going to, take over or whatever.
Yeah, I hear this time and time again about AI can do everything
Yeah.
for me. It can pull my SEO, it can pull my keywords, it can do all of these things. And in fact, I'm hearing people search on there. I don't ever search on there for things that I would search for on Google. So I don't quite understand that.
Mhm.
I'm sure it'll bring up like links for you, or it'll bring up stuff
Mhm.
like that, but I like to go specifically to Google to look up all of the information I want, because I don't want to take a chance on information from ChatGPT that might be old and
Mhm.
outdated. I want current content, and there's not really a way to
Mhm.
search for that, to my
Mhm.
knowledge. So I don't really get why somebody would use ChatGPT or whatever AI, instead of going the route of looking in Google Analytics or Google. I don't get how that would be
Right.
effective. So, but I hear a lot of people who are doing that now, which seems a little nuts to me, but that's why we were talking about it, right?
Yeah, and it can be valid. Like there are some things like I was recently experimenting, and this is what I want to be talking about a little bit on the training tomorrow is now there are ways that something like ChatGPT can bring up, like if you search, give me recommendations for the best SEO agency for, fashion bloggers, for example. Um,
Oh, okay. That I get. And how do businesses show up in that
right.
search?
That's what I want to talk about
That's
in
the
the
question.
training. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I guess I want to talk. So I want to kind of like put up that parallel that AI is both a competitor and a tool to Google, because Google itself has its own AI. And basically over time, they're just going to become, yeah, they are like competitors in a way, right? So
Yeah.
But we need to look at the context, right? And say, okay, is this actually relevant to my business? Um, and what do I want to be doing? I still feel like you need a website. I had someone recently say, well, I'm not going to do my SEO on my site because AI is going to. You need to do foundational SEO to show up in AI, right?
And if you don't have a blog that you're pumping out information on,
Exactly.
I don't know how you will even show up in
Right.
there. So a lot of people who are like, I'm going to just show up in AI. Great, but you don't have a blog. How are you doing that?
Yeah, and it just depends on your business. It's like you could have the same argument for like your Instagram, right? So people, unless you're an influencer or someone who, makes money from having a certain amount of views on your Instagram, you need to direct people to a place where they can buy from you, right? And
Yeah.
yes, you could have like a buy me a coffee on your Instagram, but there's a point, like if you're a service-based business or a, product-based business, you need to have a space of your own that you could call your own, right? Um,
That you
yes,
own and pay for.
exactly.
It can't get taken away from you, which happens a lot on Instagram,
Yes,
FYI.
yes, yes. So I think that you have to think about AI again as it's this tool. And to Jen's point, there's just the right now we're still at this point where the information isn't super fresh. Like it doesn't know who won the last election. It doesn't know certain things. It makes tons of mistakes. You need to be
Tons
It's
of
incredible,
mistakes.
like, how many mistakes it makes. It's still very helpful, like, I'm not saying not to, use it, but I think it's just it needs to be used with a critical eye, and it doesn't cancel suddenly everything else you're doing. The other thing with Google, like what I was saying before, is like Google will still exist because Google is using its own AI inside its search results. So what Google is doing is it's staying relevant by having AI inside of its product, right? The service it provides. And so Google has had many years of experience of understanding what are people looking for. If they're looking for a video in the search results, they're going to give you a video. If it's looking for an AI answer, like, what is 160 Fahrenheit to Celsius or something like that, it's going to give you an AI answer because that's what's relevant in the Google search results, right? So Google
Mm.
is a direct competitor with some of this AI tools. That's why it has its own AI tool. And so I just think it's important again to go back to the foundations, go back to basics, do not skip steps. And I think there's a lot of people like juicing this AI topic and trying to sell this
Mm.
idea that you can just I
Do everything on AI.
Yeah, I get it. Like, this whole thing of like start a business quickly and make money quickly. Like, I'm not saying that things necessarily need to take a long time. Like, if you want to create an Instagram account today and start making money from it today, great. But we need to think about that long term investment, right? And like,
Yeah.
how is your business going to sustain over time? How are you going to be able to take time off or, not necessarily have to be online all the time to be able to make money and make sales, and something like a website and SEO will help you do that.
I also want to throw this in because I don't think people think about this, but as a person paying a company a large amount of money, if you don't have a website helps confirm the feeling that they're doing the right thing.
Yes.
So if you don't have a website, you're missing out a piece of your
Yeah.
sales.
Yeah, it's an authority builder, right? So we trust people who have a site.
Yes.
I recently did a training on this of like I was actually I found someone on YouTube and I couldn't find her site and I was just like I wanted to buy something from her, but I just didn't trust like enough of what she was putting out there, right? And so the product and the service was legitimate, but I needed that site experience that could.
It's a confirmation that
Yes.
you're thinking the right way,
Yeah.
right? Like I've had people who found me on Instagram or Pinterest or whatever, and then they have a consultation call. And on the consultation call, they went from talking me into it,
Yeah.
right? But when they got on the phone because they saw my website, they're like, I'm ready to
Yeah.
sign. Just tell me what the process
Yeah.
is. Like it's a confirmation. It gets you that much
Mhm.
farther to the closer to the
Right.
dollars, right? Toward the sale.
Exactly.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So basically, to answer that question is like, no, you still need to do SEO. You can't just do AI and not SEO. I mean, you get to decide what marketing channels you invest in at the end of the day. But I would say, AI isn't at a point now where we're just replacing things. We still very much need to be doing the basics, and everything with AI needs to be looked at with a very, very critical eye, and an eye for customization. Like you and I, in both our businesses, we have processes of how we use our AI. We're not just spewing things at it. We've got like a lot of quality checkpoints that are looking very closely at what it's saying and what it's not saying. It doesn't understand, right? It's just a tool that's going to help you get from certain steps to certain steps. Like, for example, in SEO, like you could create a bunch of title tags, like a very simple example. You can create a bunch of title tags with an AI tool. You still need to go back and verify, are they using keywords? Do those keywords make sense? Is the structure of the title tag clean and clear? Like you need to think through those things. The AI is not going to know.
You can't just trust anything that's delivered.
Yes.
Like you have to also verify it's accurate.
Yes.
I agree 100%. Or you end up going off. Like you could use it for something like, check out this link and tell me, boil it down into a paragraph of what this person
Right.
does. I've done that with my website. With my new website, it gives me an answer that I want, right? Because it kind of looks at it as a whole. Yeah. Like that's a great use. I like to use AI to confirm what I think or what I found in research, to help me polish writing that I do, with it being fed all of my brand voice, right? Creating a schedule. My friend the other day said she does running, like 100-mile runs a day, like running, like endurance running, I think it's called. Plus she homeschools her kids, plus she runs a business. And she's put in her current schedule and said, what's wrong with her current schedule? And it created a whole new schedule for her, and even figured out some like ways to do working out for this endurance running that will help make her stronger. But again, we're looking at making a system better. We're making writing better. We're looking at it's short time shortcuts.
Yes.
Do not ever take what it gives you and just publish it.
Yeah.
Just as a heads up, a lot of people do that, FYI. And then all our content's going to sound the same. Like that's boring. And then people who actually write their content will stand out more.
Yeah. Yeah. Now I think we all have a new radar that's like AI content. Even like, I've had certain emails written to me and I was like, this is written by AI. Like, I don't trust this anymore. It can totally backfire, right? And again, we might do other trainings of like how to customize it, like how to do branding. Like this is part of what me and Jen do for our clients. We don't just, stick a piece of a keyword and be like, right. Like we have like at least on my end, we have like really detailed processes now of how we use these tools.
And rules for how our team uses these tools to not shortcut their work time. I mean, it will ultimately, but the double checking and the, all that stuff. I agree. And we should definitely do an episode on that, how to set it up, because I think that's really important. So many people don't even know you can customize it on the back end. And that's like
2 seconds,
like the minimum that you should do before you're using it.
Yeah. For day-to-day stuff, it's great. Like I used it because I'm a Manny-gen. Like I love the human design stuff. And I was asking it about like, how should I set up my day-to-day schedule? I also was asking it like, how can I tell my team that I like how I work as a Manny-gen? Because I struggle to even talk about how I work. And it gave me like this great little email snippet of like, this is what you could tell your team, or like a little message. And like for that kind of stuff, I think it's so smart because it gives you that shortcut. So yeah, it's important to know.
I always say it like polishes what you were going to normally do anyway, right? Instead of creating it from nothing. Yeah. And by the way, in terms of Pinterest, do not ever ask it to do anything Pinterest-wise because it'll give you wrong information. So FYI, I don't use it at all for writing that stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting how bad it can be, like, when you, like, just scratch a little bit under the surface. Like, of course, it's been a game changer for so many things, but it's also like, okay, but you have to really look closely, because when you're the expert, it's like it can be really wrong and it can be really dangerous, right, in many ways.
Winding back around to this whole AI and SEO, what would be the pitfalls of using AI to help you with SEO versus, going the way of Google and stuff?
Yeah, so you're saying to do, like, SEO stuff, right? Like SEO tasks?
Yeah, so let's say I'm only using it that way and I never go into Google
Right.
tools for keywords and things like that. What could go wrong?
Well, I
I
mean,
mean,
your site can
everything,
be
but
penalized. So Google has told us that they don't actually care about they know when content's been written by AI purely. Like, Google says that they have their own technology, blah blah blah. And Google says if you want to use AI, no problem, but this has to be very useful content that changes people's lives, that makes a real difference and is valuable, right? So when we think about it like that, if we're just creating a vanilla AI post, in most cases, it's not going to be valuable, right? So again, we're going back to basics and we're thinking, how can I take something that ChatGPT wrote and make it valuable? It's understanding your audience, understanding what they're looking for, understanding their needs. And that's just being a good business owner, in my opinion, right?
no,
Where
being a smart business owner, because you want to niche down to the people that you're talking to really be an expert in that field.
Exactly. Yeah. So to answer your question, the worst that can happen is like your site doesn't rank, you get penalized because you're not really creating helpful content. And in some cases you might be creating incorrect content because like we just talked about, you could just be basically screwing up your SEO strategy by just doing
Yeah.
this like blindly. I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but I guess it's kind of like maybe baking a cake and following the recipe, but not actually looking at the measurements, not actually looking at what you're putting in, just like
Ugh.
throwing everything in there. And like it might taste good, but it might taste horrible.
Or it might taste better if you went in the order that
Yeah.
you're supposed to do it, all the dry things first and all the wet things
Yeah. Yeah.
however it works. I always feel like AI is very also grandiose.
Yes.
And I am kind of a grandiose person. Like I lean heavily on those exclamation points and things
Yeah.
like that. But when it comes to educational content that's going to actually help people do something specific, simple is almost always
Yeah.
better. And they use a lot of filler words and big, huge words. So, one quick tip that will help with that is to utilize the top 500 or top 100 words in the English language or whatever language you
Yeah.
speak. That actually helps. It doesn't, I hate to say it dumbs it down
Right.
because that's silliness, but it takes out the grandiose and makes it simpler and understood by more people. And that, I would argue, is more helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. That's such a
Way more
good tip. Yeah.
helpful.
There's so many hacks, right? And we're actually behind the scenes, like what we're working on is we're actually building unique assistants for our clients, right? So we're not for our own clients, we're not just using chat gpt, we're actually building assistants for that client, like that go beyond the large language model like ChatGPT or Gemini. So we're using AI, but we're configuring basically AI and building our own AI. And that is to me
Very cool.
much more accurate, right? And that's what we're doing for internally, right? Again, that being
It's unique. It's more unique than
it's
for the
customized,
masses.
right? It's customized to that
Yes.
client and that situation, their expertise, everything they know, because a lot of our clients are doctors or, professionals. And it's, I guess, again, analogy is like if you're going in to do surgery, you want a doctor who's had experience, right? How do you know they've had experience? How can you like research that? You can ask them, okay, how many operations have you had? That sort of thing. So it's the same thing with AI. Like it doesn't have experience. It's pulling from all these
Yes.
knowledge based, all this like this knowledge, right? And there's a point where you can't trust it. And so Again, I don't want to like bash it because I think it's an incredible tool and we're using it very actively, but I think it needs to be used carefully. And I don't like this idea of people skipping, certain steps in their process that could potentially hurt them in the long run.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that.
So yeah, but if you want to learn more about how to start showing up more in AI and how to, using AI as a marketing tool, you can check out Jen's Facebook group. I'm going to be doing a training tomorrow, but I'm also going to be bringing up this topic, many times in the future because it's becoming more and more relevant. And a lot of the things we do for SEO actually do kind of go into maybe what you want to be doing for showing up in AI as well.
Yeah, building blocks, step by
Exactly.
step, kind of like
Yes.
math.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the information. And also, because it sounds like Cynthia might be working on stuff in the background, you never know if she'll be creating a service. So, if that's something that you would love for your business, also let us know that. Just go to Marketing Duo Podcast on Instagram and let us know. Send us a DM. We would love to know if you'd love those types of services as well, in case Cynthia wants to create a service in the future. Being an SEO expert, that would be really smart. Anyway.
Thanks, Jen.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks so
Jen.
much. Have a great day.
See you soon.